Today, I'm adding one of the most impressive buildings to the city so far. The only problem, I have no idea what it is. A bank, a town hall, a museum. Let's build it first and decide later. Welcome back to Tiny Brick City. Last time, the city finally came to life. We added people, cars, trees and streetlights. For the first time, the city started to feel like an actual place. Now it's time to add another building. But this isn't just another house, and it's not a shop either. This is the kind of building that has presence. The kind of building that makes you look at it and immediately think something important happens here. I came across this design while browsing online. Just 3 pictures. No instructions, no explanation. Just one really beautiful building. And sometimes that's enough to convince me. It immediately felt like it belonged in the city. Unlike some of the previous builds, this time I couldn't just follow instructions or a build video. I had to base this just on the images. I recreated the model in Bricklink Studio first. Normally I prefer playing with real bricks, but digitally you always have the right parts. You can experiment freely, change colors in a second and undo mistakes, without having to dismantle the top every time. Figuring out a model from a few images was surprisingly fun. You really get to know the build inside out. It feels more like solving a puzzle, trying to understand how the designer approached each design choice. Once the digital model is finished, everything becomes much easier. I can create nice visuals or generate instructions. And when the pieces arrive, I get to build it a second time. Not as good as the Lego 3-in-1 set, but pretty close. The original design was created by Joeri Ridder. I found it on his Flickr page. He also has a website with links to his games and many more Lego creations. Definitely worth checking out. I already spotted a few trees that might eventually find their way into Tiny Brick City. I'll add a link to his website, the studio file and the instructions I've made all in the comments of the video. The construction itself is surprisingly straightforward. No crazy techniques, just very solid design. One interesting detail about the building, for the first time the inside is mostly hollow, which immediately made me wonder, should I build an interior? But at this scale that doesn't really make much sense. Most microscale buildings rely on internal structure to support the exterior details. And unlike bigger scales, once the roof is on, there's no real way to peek inside anyway. It's one of the compromises that comes with building at this scale. At this point, the building really starts to come together. The wide entrance, raised by 3 steps, gives it the formal look. I also like how both floors use the same masonry texture, but in different colors. It breaks up the walls without making the design feel busy. Despite fitting on the same 8x8 footprint as most of the other buildings and having a similar height, it feels much more impressive. It's the kind of building that makes you think something important is happening behind the doors. Maybe they're displaying priceless art, they're managing people's money, or making you wait 45 minutes for some paperwork that could have been emailed. This is the first time I chose a building without knowing what function it would serve. Until now, I always started with a purpose. I needed a church, I wanted a house, or the function was obvious from the design, like the giant pretzel on the bakery. This time, it's less clear. And that makes it interesting, because it could become almost anything. A bank seems like an obvious option. It certainly looks sturdy enough to hide a few safes, and it's easy to visualize with this sign. But with a different sign, it could just as easily become a police station. Or maybe a town hall is a better fit. A place where important decisions are made and forms are stamped. It could also be a museum, a courthouse, a library. Or some mysterious government institution that nobody knows what they do, but everybody believes it's important. So what do you think? What should this building become? And more importantly, what small detail would make that instantly clear? The bakery has a giant pretzel, but what should this building have? Let me know in the comments. And here is the finished result. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It has exactly the kind of presence I was hoping for. Elegant, symmetrical, and somehow more impressive than its size would suggest. Let's add it to Tiny Brick City. I decided to place it next to the church, on one of the few remaining open spots along the road. And it fits okay. It doesn't dominate the skyline, but it adds a sense of importance, as if the city has officially grown up. It's not longer a village. It's becoming a real city. And just like the other buildings, it remains completely modular. So in the future, I can not only move it around, I can change its function as well. Now that this building is in place, we're starting to run out of space. Of course, I could keep adding more streets, but a building like this deserves a proper setting. It shouldn't be squeezed between other buildings. So next time we're building something every real city needs. A central square. See you next time in Tiny Brick City.